What is one thing you regret about your teenage years? Not making time to socialize, make friends, and just live my life. Work and academics are important, but don't let them get in the way of creating connections that will make your life meaningful. I wish I had allowed myself to live a little more. I was so focused on doing well in school, working and making money, and being overly involved in my extracurricular of choice, I never really let myself let loose. I was so obsessed with being practical. I never dated anyone, I never went to any parties, I never stayed out all night or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, I had fun with my friends. But now I'm an adult struggling to date, and I feel really uncomfortable with physical affection of any kind, because I'm so aware of my inexperience. I just wish I'd let myself do the dumb things teenagers are supposed to do. The amount of time I spent caring about what others thought of me. Thinking that you could survive and live a normal life with one job in the future, by being a college-educated working class in the future economy. Letting everyone take advantage of me, I was a spineless kid. Really wish I had asked more women out, or gone out with the ones who I knew were keen. Instead I was too scared to ask any of them out, until I was almost 20, and I made my ass of myself around the girls I knew liked me. Ugh. Not paying attention in school. I was always the jackass that passed all the tests without studying or doing homework, so I never learned how to study. I was also the kids who didn't pay attention, because I'll never use this math, this is stupid. 6 years after barely graduating, I realized I want to be an engineer. Learn about yourself. Learn about the things that are healthy for your body and your mind. Look for the sport that is right for you. Don't let PE screw you. They don't do things for you, they just do their work. And the most important thing that I struggle with until this day, high school doesn't last forever. I really regret going to the college I went to. Living it is probably the biggest regret. I had great teenage years. At 13 I could grow a beard and joined a punk rock band playing the bass. We spent all of our time at the only venue/club that would let us play. Experimented with weed, girls and alcohol for a few years, and then got into hardcore/metal. Left it all behind when I turned 20 and got really into weed. Now I wonder if all of those experiences that early were worth it, cause life is fucking boring RN in comparison, but I did finally get my master's degree before I'm 30. I regret not leaving anything on the table. I lived my life though. Not listening to the dozens of people warning me to not date the guy I was with. Cold saved myself a whole lot of pain and heartaches. When I was 16, I dated a guy who was 24. I knew then it was fairly creepy, but when I think about it now, I seriously cringe. Thankfully I had enough brains to not have sex with him. Not being organized in school. I was smart but lazy. I didn't like schedules and didn't bother with deadlines. These all added up and haunted me in university. Still comes back in adulthood. Having good habits and routines really help. I should have gotten in shape. Would have been so goddamn easy back then. It was much harder when I was 29. Everything. Most decisions were made from fear. I dated an asshole because I was afraid no one else would like me. I let my friends chase me because I was scared of not fitting in. I didn't audition for certain groups because I was scared of not getting in, etc. Sometimes I wish I could take a time machine back and slap myself in the face and yell, "Fucking try anyway." Oh well. Deleted. I regret that, when I was a teenager, it was almost impossible to be gay. Saying no when invited to parties or any kind of social gathering. So many opportunities missed. Thinking that everything was the end of the world. I was a nervous wreck. Wish I would have just chilled out, man. I should have listened to the stoner kids, LMAO. That I never confessed my feelings for this girl until our late 20s. Getting pregnant. BF was Catholic and couldn't break the birth control rule. Apparently the premarital sex rule was okay to break. I should've insisted. But you know, young, dumb, won't happen to me and all of that. Being overly self-conscious to the point that I psyched myself out of a lot of fun times and relationships. Looking back on it now, it's clear that a good number of my crushes liked me back. I was just too stupid to realize it. Picking up a hobby. As an adult, I spend most of my free time goofing off on the internet, and I find myself without the time or patience to learn a hobby, especially because the initial learning is the hardest. Looking back, I had more free time as a teenager, so I should use that time more wisely. Still, never late than never. Starting to smoke. Not paying attention in school. I was a massive goof and only started paying attention when it was too late. As a result, my dream job may be just out of my reach. Study hard, kids. Your dream job may depend on it. Edit, dream job is to be a pilot. I genuinely had no concept of hookup culture. Like as in had zero idea how it worked. I was aware people hooked up and had casual sex, but assumed that would never happen to me. 2. That I remember really hot people, one a girl, one a guy, in retrospect obviously wanted to hook up. I had no idea, so instead we just sat around for hours doing nothing. I didn't make very many friends in high school. I had, like, my one best friend, and a few other girls I was on friendly enough terms with to eat lunch, but never saw after school, but that was it. Years later, I went to my reunion, and realized they were all lovely people who I'd be friends with today if we still lived near each other. I now live out of the country, and the issue at the time was with me, not with them. Shy isn't the right word for what I was then. I talk quite a lot, but withdrawn definitely is applicable. It never occurred to me, for example, to actually invite someone to go do something. Never told anyone at school who I wanted to know better, hey, want to hang out at the mall and go catch a movie, for example. Now of course I know that was silly, and it's not a huge shocker that I never got invites if I never extended them myself, but that just weren't my thought process at the time. I grew since then, and am nowhere as withdrawn as I was, and I have enough friends to make me happy. But I'm jealous when I see my brother and sister with all their friends from high school who they are still in touch with, because one important detail about friendship you don't realize as a teenager is how wonderful older friends are who remember you and your life from different periods. My brother and sister have this in spades, and I just don't. I didn't take care of my teeth very well. I had to pay a stupid amount of money to get them fixed. I only ate about 10 onions a day. Drugs. So many drugs. Don't get me wrong, I love drugs, they have a place in our society and are so much fun, if used *responsibly*. But I didn't do that. I fucked my schooling, and they stunted me emotionally. I'm in my 30s now, and I have never felt like an adult. I'm in trade school, and things don't always click like they used to. I know getting old does that too, but I can tell the difference. Luckily I have a thirst for knowledge, and want to know how everything works. I still usually have to study more, and I usually have to back up and relearn things I should have learned in school, like algebra and trig. 4 years sober this month, life is great now. But I see these 20-year-old kids, and wish that was me. But I just couldn't get my life together, because getting high was always first. Having sex with Sherry. She gave me crabs, and they are a bitch to get rid of. Picking up that knife to harm myself. All these top comments sound like you all are nice people who just would have liked to have a bit more fun and self-expressiveness. I feel more out of place now that I look at my biggest regret. Man, my regret is just being so mean. It was not all the time though, it was just targeted to some people and only when I was feeling overwhelmed with social things. Instead of telling them that I wanted some alone time or something like that that is adult sounding, I just yelled hurtful insults at them to make them go away. I know I made one girl cry. I felt bad immediately, which just fueled my confused social emotions and made it harder for me to reconcile things with her later. I feel like I left a wake of destruction in my past. Not saving and investing all the money I made. I worked a ton as a teenager and in my early 20s and just blew it all on dumb shit. I could be fucking rich by now and retire early if I had saved and invested. Placing other people's opinions above my own. As a teenager I was pretty occupied with what others thought about me or what others thought was cool, okay or acceptable. That was before I realized there's a lot of lame and or horrible people whose opinions are garbage, so just do what you want. Simping. Not making any friendships. I'm an introvert and it's so hard for me to just go and talk to people. I always have to plan what I'm gonna say. So now I'm 24 and don't have any friends. Which sucks sometimes. As I already said, I'm an introvert and I like having my alone time. But if you never have the option to go to someone and talk to them, you get pretty depressed. Trying so hard to keep up with / be friends with the popular girls at the expense of my self-esteem. Took years to unlearn their bullshit. Mostly my teenage years. Giving up something I loved, writing, so I could dedicate more time to studies. While I did manage to achieve excellent grades, I really wish it didn't come at the expense of putting a stop to writing and creating fictional worlds. I thought I'd always stay passionate about writing and that I could jump right back into it once I was done with school, but I realized too late that it isn't that easy. Because I hadn't been writing for so long, it just isn't the same anymore. No matter how much I try, that spark and magic just isn't there anymore. It's just sad to think about what I lost. Starting smoking weed too early while my brain and personality weren't fully developed yet. I tried very hard to fit in and was so worried about letting me be myself. I found out later that people liked me more than the version of me I tried to put forth. I spent so much time waiting for something to happen. Like sitting on some steps outside of a house waiting for something to happen. Hanging out with people I did not really like waiting for something to happen. I feel like so much time was wasted waiting for something to happen instead of doing something or making things happen. Not establishing good habits. My mom and dad worked a lot and we were kinda left alone a lot to run wild. I partied a lot and sure it was fun. But there are some really tough habits to break and start. Thinking I was in love. Getting fat. Not socializing, in or out of school. I'm now 25, fat and struggle to talk to people. Pretty much all of it was pretty cringe. Not working harder in school. Could have gotten more scholarships / aid if I had, and wouldn't have as much debt today. Letting religion dictate my actions, particularly in the fields of dating and sex. The day I turned 18 I was able to gamble at the local casinos. I won a jackpot playing poker and then lost $18,000, almost all of it, within 6 months. Pretty sure the only thing I actually bought was an Xbox One. Haven't gambled for 6 years. Still cringe when I think about it. Staying in the closet. I could have had a lot more fun. I regret caring as much as I did. Always caring about how others viewed me, my friends, teachers, family, etc. I spent so much time worrying about how people perceive things that I said or did, whether they might take offense if I say I didn't want to do something, etc., that I forgot to ever really consider how I felt in all of it. Hating my IELTS too much for failing grades. I was the kid who studied for weeks to get a C. Friends of mine will come to a test barely studying a day and pass the test with a B+ or A, and here I am, busting my ass off for a C or a B. I still hate myself for not understanding why. I think it's because of my anxiety and stress. I do tend to forget everything under stress, and the thing about that is the moment I leave my home, I become stressed and anxious. I can have the best memory at home tell you whole studies, but if you put me in a class and ask me what year this and that happened, I wouldn't be able to tell you in a million years. Oral sex with my brother. Not putting myself out there enough. Not being more confident. Also, I don't regret playing video games as it was one of the most enjoyable times of my life. I just regret not doing other things as well. Deleted. Hanging out with people who did not respect my beliefs. Not listening to my parents who warned me time and time again about many things, but obviously teenage me knew better. That I believed I knew everything to be independent. Burned my bridges with my family and went out in the world. It did not go well. Working though them. I never had that carefree kid/teenage time. I grew up on a poor farm. Then moved into an apartment with my mom. She couldn't hold a job so I worked. I had fun, I had friends, we did stuff. But I also had to budget rent, electric bill, car payment, phone bills. Plus I went to school. Figure out how to squeeze $25 into 2 weeks worth of groceries. Went without because we had to. It's always going to be that way. Unless I win the lottery, I'll never get to know that feeling. Just the fact that I didn't appreciate my time as a teenager enough. You only get to be a teenager once, and I feel like I really took my teenage years for granted. Being a teenager was definitely less depressing and stressful than being a mid-20s guy right now. Literally wasting away my life on social media. I never really learned how to make friends IRL. I mostly relied on my internet friends. I didn't develop many hobbies. I can barely cook 2 different and really easy dishes. I didn't volunteer. I had a job that lasted 1 semester, and I know for a fact that if I had put more effort into my schoolwork, I would have ended up as valedictorian. I wasted so much time on social media, and I have nothing to show for it. My internet friends ended up falling through. I'm in college now, and I'm having to reteach myself how to manage my life away from my phone. The part between 12 and 20 years old. How much time I wasted. Pushing people away that tried to become friends with me. I never rebelled. I was a good little boy who never got in trouble and who always wanted his parents' and teachers' approval. Not standing up to some of the people that were mean to me for no reason. I was bad at taking hints. Flirting can be subtle.